Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of First Person, sponsored as always by the Precision Strip Company in Minster, Ohio. Generations of great service and stewardship to that community, the All-Glades County community, Minster and New Bremen. A great place to work, great neighbors, and of course great sponsors of what we do here on PressProsMagazine.com. Again, Precision Strip sponsors each week of First Person. Scott Elchert, the head boys basketball coach at Jackson Center High School, our guest this week. Practice starts sometime, I think, later this week, and I wanted to sit down and talk with you because it has been very hard, as you people know. We don't get to change this interview as often as we would like with football and volleyball personnel because they're busy, they're in tournament season. We get a lot of, can we postpone this? Something came up.
Yeah.
Glad to sit down with you and talk some basketball and the reality of the world we live in. So thanks for taking the time, man.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. It's always good.
Mine as well. Mentioned basketball practice starting, and of course, the elephant in the room is the COVID virus. And I've talked to more than one already who said, you know, we're a little bit concerned about the possibility of what happens in basketball and what has happened already in football. And I wondered if that is a distraction to practice, how you're going to handle that, how you're going to talk to your kids, because they're going to come in here all full of vinegar and wanting, you know, hell for leather, let's play basketball. And how you're going to handle that, and what do you say to them?
Well, you know, it is a delicate balance, and our kids are chomping at the bit to start on Friday. But I think they do understand that it is the harsh reality. If for no other reason, many of our kids were a part of the program and part of the team last year when we got shut down in that regional final. So it's not hard to convince them that this can actually happen. So how we move forward, you know, we're gonna be as cautious as we can. But we're also going to be realistic about it too. We're not going to get crazy. We're going to try to go about our business and follow proper protocols and all those type of things. But you know, it's unfortunately it's something that we're still living with. When this happened in March of last year, I'm like, yeah, you know, I could see it going on a couple of months, and then it just kept getting extended.
That's why people told us.
Yeah, right. So I think our kids understand that it is real, and will try to do everything they can in their power to keep themselves out on the court playing basketball.
You know, it begs the question how you spent your summer and your spring, because I know how competitive you are. I know how competitive your kids are. I know that you're like a handful of coaches. Doug Hughes being another one. You win your regional semifinal game, you're one game away from going to the Final Four, and they pull the plug. How's your spring and summer been, you know, to live beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody, you know. I mean, it's interesting. We all have lived in a different world, and things are much different. Here's what I do know, though, is when that happened, and then with each passing week being away from my players and being away from athletics in general, I realized just how much I missed it. So, you know, there was a new sense of gratitude for that, and what a blessing it actually is. And you know, I mean, and you just, you know, as we went through the summer, we finally were able to start getting together and doing some things as a team. But the only, you know, per se, actual live action play that we got was amongst ourselves, because we still were not in a position to go out and play other teams.
The problem is, I see that, and I spent the summer asking a lot of baseball players. 15, 16, 17-year-old baseball players. Do you guys even know anyone that's sick? And every one of them said, we know kids that test positive, nobody's sick. I really don't see why we just can't play. And I'm sure that was an issue for your kids back in March, because they weren't really testing that many people back then, but they didn't know anyone that was sick either.
Yeah, I think it was a little puzzling, you know, for them, just because of the unknowns, and like you said, they weren't. But, you know, since then, I know that they all have known people that have been sick, and unfortunately, we've lost a couple great community members here in Jackson Center, so we understand that reality of it.
Scott Elchert, the head basketball coach and the athletic director at Jackson Center High School, our guest this week on First Person. Another reality about this COVID business is, and I've talked to a number of athletic directors, a number of school administrators, was in Southern Ohio, down in Lawrence County, Gallia County a couple of weeks ago, and they all said, hey, if we can't sell tickets, this puts a heck of a strain on our ability to go forward with our athletic budget, particularly in football, because football is an expensive sport to play. But you have no football. Basketball is your football. You got a gym that seats 1,100 here. If you can only sell 150, 200 tickets, what's that mean to you as the athletic director?
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see it real quickly in our budget. We've been able to maintain and sustain through our fall sports and haven't taken that big of a drop compared to we were, but we potentially will now here in basketball.
But you don't sell out. You don't sell out in volleyball.
No.
I've been here. I've never been here when this place wasn't teeming with people for basketball.
Yeah. And so I believe this, that we're fortunate entering this year that I feel like I know our budget is sound enough, it's stable enough that we can withstand this year. If this would continue to go on for another year, or then we're looking at some serious issues, as I'm sure most schools are. So luckily, I think this year we would be able to sustain. But yeah, I would not want to. I would not want to continue much further out than that.
Let's talk basketball.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of basketball. Enough about COVID. The reality of it is you've got probably the premier player returning this year in the Shelby County League in Aiden Reichert, 6'4", 6'5", front court player. I don't know if he'll play 5, play 4 for you, play 3 for you. He can play anywhere he wants for you because he is a tremendous individual to build around, and that's been your history here. You play great defense and you build around a player like him and figure out a way to win those 40, 35 games.
Yeah. And Aiden had a great year for us last year. And of course, we have big expectations for him heading into this year. He's got to really totally assume the leadership of this team. But I also know that the league is going to be a bear. There's a lot of good teams around.
A lot of parity.
Yeah, and there were a lot of very good teams last year with sophomores and juniors. We primarily were playing seniors last year, and then of course our non-league schedule. So he'll have a lot on his shoulders from this standpoint. He does need to help lighten the load for his teammates, but he's also going to draw a lot of attention from our opponents, and he's not going to go unnoticed out there when it comes to their scouting reports.
No, somebody his size is not going to go unnoticed. But one thing about you and your situation, I talk to a lot of coaches and they say, well, we had a lot of seniors last year. We lost 20 points. We don't know where those points are going to come from this year. That doesn't seem to bother you. Your issue is we're going to deny somebody else those 20 points.
Yeah, we need to. And I feel good about some of the younger kids that we're potentially going to be drawing upon to fill some spots that we've lost. But the one area where those kids really need to show vast improvement is with their defense. I feel like they've got some of these guys have some good offensive skill, but to be consistent defenders for us, you know what I mean? They've got to put in some work here.
You're going to figure that out though, won't you?
We're going to try.
Has there ever been a year when you haven't played good defense?
No, I'm sure there's been plenty.
No, I'm asking you though. I can't ever remember you.
I mean, our kids have, luckily over the last several years, they have really bought into how we've tried to become successful. And, I think what's happened is with a lot of tradition and things like that, things have gotten passed down from older kids.
They know when they come in.
And, Aiden, I'll use Aiden as an example. Since he is a senior this year, the one thing that we've tried to do and have been fortunate enough to do with some of our talented kids, we try to get them right out there playing varsity as a freshman so that by the time they're the senior, they've already had those 3 or 4 years of experience and they can help train some of the other younger kids. And I can't really remember a year recently where we haven't played a freshman, at the varsity level.
If you're a basketball fan, you haven't lived till you see Shelby County League basketball on a Friday, Saturday night. And this guy here is one of the reasons why that reputation has grown over the years. And by the way, you do a lot more for this community than just basketball. I know what you mean here, and I know how popular and how people respect you for your commitment and contribution here.
Well, I appreciate that, and you know, we love living in Jackson Center. My wife and I made the choice to move back here after we had been here and away for 5 years with our 5 children, to have them grow up here. It's you know, the community has treated me well. It's a great community, and we just feel very fortunate to be a small part of it.
We'll shake hands some other time.
Okay.
But I wanted to thank you again for the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonny.
It's great to talk with Scott Elchert. That wraps up this edition of First Person, again sponsored by the Precision Strip Company over in Minster, Ohio. As we mentioned before, a great tradition, great sponsors, great neighbors, and a great supporter of things that mean something to you in the Auglaize County community. For Coach Elchert and Precision Strip, thank you again for your support. I always say this, but I couldn't mean it more. Your support of what we do every week on PressProsMagazine.com. We'll be back again sooner with another edition of First Person. Have a great sports week.